Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Cara Kurtz, and I am the Business Development Coordinator here at ASTA, and I will also be the organizer for today's presentation. We are happy to welcome ASTA's very own Bob Duglin. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few important features on your screen that will allow you to interact with us via the web today. We'll be answering your questions at the end of this presentation. To ask a question, you will be using your GoToWebinar pane. Near the bottom of this pane, there is an area that says questions. If you click the arrow next to where it says questions, it will open up a window pane, and this is what you will use to communicate with us today. If you're having trouble hearing the presentation, please make sure that your speakers are turned all the way up, or try calling in and hanging back up again, and then dialing again. You can send me any technical issues via the questions pane, and I will try to answer them to my best ability. Please note that all audience members are muted. We certainly want to hear from you all, but with so many people on today's call, background noise would prove to be prohibitive, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear the entire presentation. Finally, please note that this webinar is being recorded and is also one of a series, and will be available for your on-demand viewing on asta.org by the end of the week. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Bob.
Great. Thank you very much, Cara. I appreciate you organizing the webinar, and also thank my colleague Corey Bailey for sitting in. Those of you may have spoken to Corey on the phones. He's handling a lot of our member care, so thank you for that, Corey. And I'm excited to share with everyone today ASTA's International Showcase that is coming up in Rhodes, Greece. Now, this is different than our Destination Expo. This is a bit smaller event. This will be May 12th to 16th on the island of Rhodes. And my name is Bob Duglin. I'm ASTA's VP of International Membership and Expansion. And you see my photo there, and I hope it doesn't scare anybody. But we've also got a photo below along with myself, our President and CEO, Zane Kirby, and Greece's Tourism Minister, Elena Kantoura, who was with us in Miami to announce this Rhodes Showcase. We've had a wonderful working relationship with the Greek Tourism Ministry, and those of you on the call that were in Athens know what a wonderful job our friends and colleagues did in Greece. Now, let's talk about what the ASTA International Showcase is, what some of the highlights are going to be, and a lot of it is the opportunity to immerse yourself as a Rhodian, as someone from Rhodes, where you enjoy many of the sightseeing tours around the island. You're going to get a chance to expand your connections by meeting with local suppliers and networking with your fellow travel advisors. And this is so important because connections with the local suppliers make all the difference. As many of you know, I'm a travel advisor myself. I'm active in my local chapter. And I know so many of our travel advisors that were in Athens met local suppliers that they're using today with their clients, whether they're doing shore excursions off the ship or whether they're setting up specialist tours, honeymoons, footsteps of Paul, whatever. It's a very valuable opportunity to meet some of these folks. It also gives you the opportunity to travel and experience other places around Greece and nearby through some of the FAMs that we're putting together. And a little did you know fact, and that's the fact that the islands of Rhodes is famous worldwide for two reasons. One of which is the preserved medieval town. You can see a little picture of that in the center. If you've been there on a cruise on a day trip, you'll know all about that. And it's an amazing World Heritage town. It's one of the top tourist destinations in Greece, but its nickname is the Island of Knights because it's named after the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, who once conquered the land on their way to the Middle East. And of course, you may know it's famous worldwide for the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. Now, where is Rhodes in Greece? And if you take a look at the map, let me put my pointer up here. Here's Athens, the capital of Greece. We look over here into the Aegean Islands. You've got Santorini, Mykonos, some of the other islands. And then Rhodes is really off the coast of Turkey. It's over here, just off of Bodrum, Marmaris. Up here is Izmir and Kushadasi. But it's, well served with flights and with ferries from Athens. And that's one of the things we'll talk about. When you get there, you want to fly into Athens, and then we'll have special rates for you to go on to Rhodes from there. Now, what's included in your registration with this particular event? With this event, you're going to have your hotel included. So that's 4 nights at the Rhodes Palace Hotel, also known as Rodos Palace Hotel, Rodos, that's the Greek word for Rhodes, and that includes breakfast. It will include all of your taxes except for a €4 local tax, has to be paid upon your arrival per Greek law. So that's the only thing extra that you'll have to pay after the registration. We'll have a welcome reception, an opening ceremony, a chance to network with suppliers from Rhodes and throughout Greece in B2B and trade show format. We're going to have some great education. Your airport transfers are included in Rhodes. You'll have a tour of Rhodes and of the medieval center. You'll have a chance to see the Acropolis at Lindos, which is the northern part of the island. Most of your meals are included, and there's some really great pre- and post-fam opportunities. Now, here's a couple of pictures of where we're staying, the Rhodes Palace Hotel, the Rodos Palace Hotel. They have a kind of a villa wing on one side, and then they've got their hotel tower on the water on the other. As you can see in the upper right, the rooms have been recently renovated, very comfortable plush bedding, great bathroom facilities in there, shower, tub. And then, of course, the restaurant where you'll have your breakfast every day and a lot of meeting facilities. Now, down here, you see a dome area. That's a beautiful indoor pool that's available. Now, what are you going to see in Rhodes? And I know we spoke about the medieval town, and kind of as you come into the port right here, this is where the giant Colossus once stood. And you've got so much history that's taken place over the years, from ancient Greek history up through the medieval times, and even through the recent Greek Revolution that goes back to the early part of the last century, for the War for Greek independence. So as you go through the island, there are all kinds of ruins and little villages, and here's the Acropolis up at Lindos. And you can just wander through these medieval streets and the city itself. Absolutely amazing. Great beaches, great spas, easy to get in and out of. It's really a super destination. And the thing that's a lot of fun with this, especially for your clients, is it's very affordable. You can go have a great meal for two, and it's going to cost you $25, $30, with a glass or two of wine or beer in your meal. Now, what are the pre and post FAMs? And this is also something that's important. You're going a long distance. We want to maximize your time. We are going to have FAMs in Athens and the Peloponnese. The Peloponnese is the main land area of Greece. We're going to have a FAM to the island of Chios, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Fascinating place. Through our connections in Greece, you're actually going to have a chance to do a FAM to Cairo and do a Nile cruise. Then we've got the ever-popular destination of Santorini. And then we're going to have 3, 4, and 7-night pre- and post-cruises on Celestial. Those of you that have been in the industry for a while, Celestial was Lewis Cruises. They've rebranded, they've redone their ships. Some of you may have done the pre and post with them in Athens, which everybody raved about. Now, in terms of planning your air, because we don't have these FAMs yet, we should be getting them in January. All the FAMs are going to be 3, 4, or 7 nights. So if you're planning your air, you can plan your air around that. I also recommend maybe that before flying on the Rhodes, you spend a night or two in Athens and just explore that wonderful city. And we have tours and FAMs that will be available there. Just as an FYI also, there is one hotel right at Athens Airport. It's, I think, a Sofitel. And then the Athens Airport is right on the light rail line into Syntagma Square. So it's easy to get in and out and around Athens as you're connecting. Now, one thing that's very important is the people that are already registered for this event are the ones that are going to get first choice the FAMs. So right now, I think we have 100 slots on this event. I think 30 of them have been sold. So it's those 30 folks that are going to get first shot at these FAMs. And I know the cruise went first. And you take that 30, multiply it by 2, all of a sudden we're at 60. So if you want to register and be first for these FAMs, please take that opportunity. Now, I just want to speak about one of these places because a lot of you may know less about this than some of the others, and that's the island of Chios. And Chios is kind of to the north of Rhodes. It again is more to the Turkish coast than it is to the main Peloponnese, but it's an absolutely amazing place. I say it's the 5th largest village. There are a lot of medieval villages on there, an 11th century monastery. And if you take a look at the painting on the buildings, it's called sgraffito, graffiti. That's where the word graffiti came from. And many parts of the villages have these beautiful paintings on the buildings as you travel around them. And then you look at that little harbor cove down at the bottom. It's absolutely incredible. Now, everybody's probably heard of mastic tape or mastic glue. Little fact, Chios is one of the few places in the world that grows mastic. And those of you that have been to Greece and have had a drink before, there's a local liqueur called mastika, which is really, really good. And again, that's very unique to that island. Chios was also the cradle of Greek independence. And, this is their war with the Ottomans in the early part of the last century. The island is full of small villages, beaches, coves, and it really is kind of an undiscovered location. So I would recommend somebody that wants to see or do something different, definitely consider Chios. Now, what is it going to cost you to attend this event? We have a super early bird special. It goes through the end of this month. You can register online at asta.org, sign as a member, or you can link there from the NACTA website, the SBN website. The rate is only $5.99 per person, inclusive of your hotel and everything else that we had on there in a double. A single is only a couple $100 more, $7.99. A guest and non-agent is $6.49. If you're not a member, add $199 to the rate. That'll include your membership for a year. Now, the super early bird that is going to expire next week or the week after. Then we have the early bird rate, lead-in of $6.49, then the regular rate of $7.49. I would recommend, if you're interested, to register now at that $5.99 rate. One thing I should mention, my hardworking colleagues at ASTA are off between Christmas and New Year's, so our office is going to be closed most of next week up until the 2nd. So you can go ahead and register, but chances are, if you have any questions, they may or may not get answered in time. So that's why you want to take advantage of these next couple of days. And Corey, I don't know if you'll get a few phone calls on this, but you can also contact me with a question. I'd recommend you contact me by email, and it's very simple, bob@asta.org. So those are the rates, $5.99. You can't stay home for that, considering it includes your hotel and most meals. Now, FedHATA is the Greek Travel Agent Trade Association. They're the folks we've worked closely with. And actually, Jen Whitney, our Director of Marketing, made this slide for us earlier, and I wanted to include it because it shows the close partnership we have over in Greece. Gentleman on the upper left is the president of their trade association, Minister Kantora. The next photo is the mayor of Athens. Then there are many tour operators, ministry members. Gentleman on the left in the sunglasses, Byron, I don't know if you're on line 9 or not, but Byron Argyris is kind of like the godfather of Greek tourism and has made all this happen. Gentleman on the right is George Palioris. George is the new president of our Greek chapter. And down below, you're wondering, why is Zane shaking hands with Arnold Donald? Well, it was actually through the Greek Tourism Ministry at ASTA's Global Convention where, ASTA brought together the leaders of the travel industry and people from throughout tourism. So Greece is an important part of what we do, and we have great partners and great connections for our members there. Now, who are the sponsors of this event? The provincial government of the Aegean Islands, the Cyclades and the Dodecanese Islands. Their vice governor was in Miami at our recent event to show their support. The Greek Tourism Ministry, FedHATA, which is, our counterpart over there. Then the Rhodos Palace Hotel and Convention Center where we'll be staying. So this is a brief introduction to this event from May 12 through May 16. And, we'll be doing some more specific webinars going into early next year. And Cara, at this point, I'd like to see, do we have any questions from anyone in the audience?
Yes, Bob. It looks like our first question is going to be, when will we be announcing other FAMs, such as Santorini or Mykonos?
We'll hope to have everything done and up by the end of January, if not sooner. Our friends at FedHATA are working on that right now. But again, for planning purposes, think 3, 4, and 7 days pre and post for the fans.
Thank you, Bob.
Sure.
Next question is going to be, how does room inclusion work? We see that 4 days are included with the room, but how exactly, upon registering, do they secure their room?
Okay, once you register, your information is recorded on our site, and then you're going to receive a code within a couple weeks after to go ahead and register as a no-charge guest on the website of the hotel, of the Rhodes Palace. And then you'll be able to input, whether you want a king, two doubles, handicapped accessible or whatever.
Bob, do we have the prices for any of the FAMs, specifically post-FAMs?
We don't have those prices yet. They'll pretty much be in line with what we had for Athens. So we're talking anywhere from the kind of the $299 to $799 range, depending on the number of nights and whether it's the cruise or not. And one thing with the Celestial Cruise is they include all of the excursions. And the Celestial Cruise will be going, most likely, I think it's going to Kusadasi in Turkey, Rhodes, Santorini, Crete, Athens, kind of in a rotation. So, hopefully that helps. We'll have more specifics for you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. And then going off of that question as well, in order to extend your stay for a pre or post cruise, how would that work with the 4 days that are already included with their stay?
Okay, most likely you're going to need to get back to Athens to get on the cruise. The flights are very frequent. I think we had a $99 rate each way before through Aegean Airlines. I expect we'll get that again. So you'll be transferred, inclusive, back to the airport, and then your transfer from the airport to the ship. So we'll have that full detail for you once I get that from FedHata. But we will make that seamless.
Thank you, Bob. And then while I ask the next question, would it be possible to go back to the slide, which includes the price of the trip?
Sure.
Thank you. And then our next question is going to be, upon registering for the trip, is there anything additional that our guests are going to need to do in order to secure the free transfer?
No, there's going to be contact for you to input your flight information. I'm still working on that with FedHata, but because we know when the flights are coming from Athens to Rhodes, I think they're just going to have rotating transfers for everybody, but the details will follow up on that. I've got that on my list here. Thanks for bringing that question up.
No, thank you so much, Bob. And it looks like our final question is going to be, at the beginning of the presentation, you had said that this is different from our Destination Expo, and one of our viewers is wondering how so.
Okay, the Destination Expos tend to be larger with attendance of 300, 500 people, and they're more of a formal international meeting. This is going to be more of an immersive trip into Rhodes. So when ASTA runs a Destination Expo, we're involved with it from our office as well. Here, this is being run primarily by our partners at FedHata, by the South Aegean government, and by the hotel. Almost think of it as a super mega FAM. Similar, those of you that may have been in Nassau at our Bahamas showcase, or in Maui at the Maui showcase, it'll be more like that, where it's more destination focused, more out and about for you to learn more about it.
All right, thank you so much, Bob. I believe that will conclude all of the questions that we have coming in today, but hopefully everyone can join us for our next webinar in this series on the 23rd of the first month of 2019. Super excited to kick off the new year with a webinar on our new showcase. But as I had mentioned, this webinar was recorded, and if you would like to listen, it will be available on asta.org for our members by the end of the week. Thank you again so much, Bob, our VP of International Membership and Expansion, for such an amazing webinar, and we look forward to speaking with you again in a month or so.
Great, and happy holidays, and thank you to all of our members that joined us today, and to you, Cara and Corey, for joining us.
Thank you so much. We hope everyone has an amazing day.
Great. Thanks. Bye now.